We saw officers searching with shovels earlier this afternoon. We saw them walking back and forth from this creek here further down the hill through this tall grassy area. What made today different is that John Halford, he's out on bond. That means he went through the same doors as everyone else. He went through the same security as everyone else. In the few days after the shooting, he wasn't sure if he wanted to reopen the bar here, but he did say within 10 days he had thousands of people emailing him, calling him. In the meantime, the county says they have no authority to deport anyone. Right behind me, he's greeting supporters and community members. I want to show you some of these donations here. Cases of water. They have a cot here and a sleeping bag for anyone who might need a place to stay. Their outage lasted for about an hour and a half to 2 hours this morning, affecting officers' cell phones and computers. You can see that almost every single state has some kind of requirement, whether that's a college degree, an exam, or an internship. But Colorado does not require anything. The trees that have been knocked down, and I want to show you across the street here. These homes have been left with little to no damage at all. They've been stuck in their homes for 2 days now. They say the snow is just too heavy and thick to clear. Raising competency means the suspect's attorneys are questioning whether he's able to understand what's happening during court proceedings. Only legislators have the power to change the bed cap, so we're here at the Capitol to talk with one lawmaker who sponsored a bill to lower the number of juvenile beds in the state. You can see the burn marks here where the fire spread to. It started just behind Patriot Elementary School here on Post. A few horses here at the Quail Run Horse Center got some cuts and scrapes from the debris while they were outside during the tornado, but they're all doing fine, like Miss Bunny here. Staff say it only took 15 minutes for the storm to pass through and change their entire world while they were hunkered down in this building.
Where's Jackie?
Dan Urban's parents built this stable back in 1987.
Transformed it into a competition facility about 12 years ago.
It's a place for horse lovers to unite, hosting hundreds of people for competitions throughout the year. But this weekend's event was cut short.
So this is a good view of where it came from. All the place where the trees are completely stripped is where the tornado went.
A tornado tearing through their property.
Had it stayed on the path that it was, I don't think my barn would be in the spot that it is right now.
He and his family were hunkering down inside the barn.
We covered everybody up with horse blankets.
His mom listening to the wind rip up the roots she laid down.
Your whole life is gone. It's a little tough.
But their first thought after the tornado passed was not the damage.
My brother and I ran out the door down the hill to check on all the horses that were in the stablings.
More than 100 horses were in town for the event.
And just the two ends of the barn had suffered any real damage.
Only a few of them had small injuries from the debris.
Truly amazing that it's nothing more serious.
Like many people who lost something in this storm, the Urban family is not walking alone.
We've had total strangers show up and ask what they can do and how they can help.
Getting back to what they've been doing every single day of their lives.
We just all went and did what horse people normally do. Take care of their horses.
It's very surreal. I'm still trying to understand it.
It was about 8:45 last Sunday night.
It's still hard to believe.
When Trevor and Eric Naw got a call they almost didn't believe.
Got a call from my neighbor saying that my vehicle exploded in the driveway, that my house was on fire. When we got here, the house was fully engulfed.
A swarm of first responders.
Firefighters everywhere.
Putting out the flames that had already caused irreversible damage.
My brain was just literally searching my house for any possible reason for why that could happen.
To me, I was like, it was very odd. He started looking at all his, security cameras, and finally found somebody on camera lighting up his Jeep on fire.
Police say an arsonist started this fire and continued down the street, setting several other vehicles up in a blaze. Officers arrested the suspect that night. He was charged with arson, theft, and burglary.
That was extremely troubling to hear, that somebody's going through the neighborhood and lighting multiple fires throughout the neighborhood. It's just terrible.
Over the past week, the Nah brothers have been sifting through what's left of their belongings.
These are all my brother's collectibles.
Realizing almost everything is destroyed.
Cameras, books.
But in the burnt mess is a picture of their father.
We lost him 4 years ago. Probably the only picture that lived.
And while their home went up in flames, there was really one thing they were worried about inside. Oh my goodness.
Really, it was just all about Max. It's like, hey, where's Max? We have a dog in there.
Come here, buddy.
He was in poor condition when he came out, supposedly unconscious when they found him.
He's still dealing with the after effects of inhaling all of the smoke.
Buddy. Very special. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi.
But an immense weight off the shoulders that he was safe.
Eric and Trevor have started an extensive process to repair the damage,
Taking everything down to the studs.
hoping maybe someday they'll move back in. For now, they're thankful for the heroes who helped.
I could not have asked for a better response from both the fire department and the police.
And have a new appreciation for the things that are truly irreplaceable in life.
Family's been great. Friends have been great.
You start to realize you lost everything, but focus on what you actually still have.
In Colorado Springs, I'm Maggie Bryan, News 5.
Good! Baker 78, shots fired, shots fired.
The suspects you see in these body camera videos are all under the age of 18.
We've got 10-year-olds that are stabbing people, shooting people, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds doing the same thing. It makes me wonder, what could we have done differently to help our kids?
Colorado Springs Police Chief Adrian Vasquez says that juvenile crime is on the rise. He says last year there was an average of 400 juveniles suspected of crimes in the city each month. More than a quarter of those were suspects in crimes like assault, robbery, and attempted murder. Statewide, there's been a 28% increase in juvenile arrests from 2021 to 2023.
And that's really staggering if you think about it. Would you ever have thought that many juveniles are committing those types of crimes on such a consistent basis?
It's shocking.
It is shocking.
He says his officers are arresting the same juveniles over and over again.
The frustrations are our inability to take somebody who needs to be in custody. They're a prolific offender, they're a violent offender, and we have no place to put them.
No space for them in youth detention facilities like the one here in Colorado Springs. It's called Zebulon Pike. When a juvenile is in trouble with the law and a screening shows they're a flight risk or a risk to others, they will end up here or one of the other 7 juvenile detention facilities across the state. But there's a bed cap that limits how many people these places can hold. Over the years, the number of beds has been cut by more than half. Now, Zebulon Pike, serving a county of over 700,000 people, has 27 beds available.
We've either got to let them go or a juvenile screener's got to say, okay, well, this one that we have in here now has been in here for a while, we'll let them go.
Chief Vasquez says they can try to find space at the nearest facilities in Pueblo or Denver, but that takes officers off the street to transport the juvenile.
Trying to take bed space in another location can be difficult because they're sitting there going, well, we need the bed space too.
We're on our way to Denver to the Division of Youth Services to talk with the director, Anders Jacobson. He oversees operations for all of the juvenile detention and youth centers in the state. I want to ask him why there are so few beds in our community.
COVID actually drove down the use of detention beds, and quite frankly, I think is where we landed in this state at 215.
He says an executive order during COVID significantly reduced the bed cap. At the time, he says it was manageable, but now the need is back up after facilities maxed out bed space last October.
We actually hit and exceeded the detention bed cap. That's never happened in the history of the detention bed cap. So that certainly has our attention and others' attention.
Get him here! Get your hand out! Hand out!
What's also grabbing their attention is the number of juveniles committed to facilities for homicide and manslaughter-related charges. The latest report from the Division of Youth Services reveals a 53% increase from fiscal year 2022 to 2023.
We know that when those type of crimes are being committed and those type of youth are coming into detention, they're going to stay a lot longer. And when they stay a lot longer, those beds now are taken up.
He says only legislators have the power to change the bed cap, so we're here at the Capitol to talk with one lawmaker who sponsored a bill to lower the number of juvenile beds in the state.
If we increase the bed caps, what we're saying is that we as a society and legislators have not figured out a better way than to detain our juveniles, which I have a really, really big issue with.
That's State Representative Lindsay Doherty. She says the reason Colorado is hitting the bed cap is that facilities are holding on to low-risk juveniles who should be let out. Data from the State Department of Human Services shows 1 out of 3 youth detained in the second half of 2022 were screened to be low risk, meaning their risk of reoffending was also low.
That just means we're not letting out the youth who should have been let out already. And if we had been letting those youth out, then that cap number would be, we would never be hitting it.
Representative Doherty says a bill passed last year provided a compromise, giving detention facilities 22 temporary emergency beds to share. She says each facility has more physical beds than what they are allocated under the law, meaning facilities can take a bed from another location without actually transporting the juvenile.
The fact that they're not borrowing beds like they should be per jurisdiction and instead transporting kids is bad form.
But the Division of Youth Services says every detention center is experiencing a strain, so it's difficult to even borrow beds. One thing everyone can agree on is the need for more placement services outside of detention.
We have to find a way to set that structure up in our state so that there are places where these youth can go to, and that will help open detention beds.
Lay on the ground! Lay on the ground! Get on the ground! Colorado Springs Police!
More diversion programs is a fix Chief Vasquez wants to see, while still holding youth who are higher risk accountable under the law.
That's what our hope is that we can get those juveniles who are committing a lot of crimes into some type of a diversion, get them out of their lifestyles. We don't want our kids going to prison. None of us do.
Pit complete.
To stop the behavior while they're under 18 before the consequences rise to the next level.
One pass.